So we go to economies AS, paper 1, May 2019. Question 1. Statement 1. The Swedish government increased the amount it spends on health as a percentage of GDP from 8.5% in 2010 to 11% in 2016. Statement 2. The Irish government decreased the amount it spends on health as a percentage of GDP from 10.5% in 2010 to 7.9% in 2016. Which one of the following best describe the two statements? These are statements. So question A says both statements are normative. They are not normative because normative statements are valued statements. It involves opinion, which means we might use should in the phrase. So it is not A. B, statement 1 is normative. There's no normative statement here, so B is not correct at all. Statement C, both statements are positive. Yes, both statements are positive. Why? Because both statements can be considered true or false based on data that you can use to check the accuracy of the statement. So the answer is C. But let's look at D. Statement 1 is positive. There's nothing like normative statement here. So the answer is C. Is it clear? Any question about that? Question 2. Question B, right? Question 2, yes. The diagram shows the Georgian economy at position X on the production possibility frontier. The Georgian population decreased by 723,000 between 2010 and 2015. In which of the diagram does the movement from X to Y illustrate this decrease in population? First, when there's this decrease in population, it simply means the supply of labor would fall. And if the supply of labor falls, it simply means there will be inward shift in the PPF. So here we have for A, capital goods, there's outward shift from X to Y. That is not decrease in population. That will be an increase in population. It is not A. B, there's inward shift. That's the answer. And inward shift will be as a result of a decline in the population, which means there's a fall in the quantity supply of labor. And if there's a fall in the quantity supply of labor, it means few capital goods will be produced and few consumer goods will be produced because there's no worker to produce them. So the answer is B. So go to C. C, X to Y. Y is not unattainable because the economy stops at X. So the boundary is at X. So there's no resources to reach Y. So it is unattainable, which C is not correct. And D, from X to Y here, it's inward, and this simply means there are unemployed resources. So that means the economy is not even reaching its full potential. Yes. So it is not D. So the answer is B. Is it clear? And in the explanation, so for the explanation, you write, first you define production possibility frontier, which is a graph that shows the combination of the consumer goods and capital goods that can be produced if all resources are fully utilized. So here, why we're not choosing D? We're not choosing D because at D, resources are not fully utilized. So there's unemployed resources at D. So that's why it's not D. So there's no movement inward at that point in time. So go to question 3. They said, the table shows estimates. The table shows estimates of price elasticity of demand and income elasticity of demand for electricity in Hawaii. Price PED is negative 0.07 and YED is positive 0.13. From this information, it can be deduced that an increase in income will lead to a more than proportionate increase in demand for electricity. It is not A. Because an income, first, what is price elasticity of demand? It is a degree of responsiveness between the quantities demanded of a product as a result of a change in price. And income elasticity of demand is a degree of responsiveness between the quantities demanded of a product as a result of a change in income. You get that done. So an increase in income will lead to a more proportionate increase in demand for electricity. Increase in income here, based on the price elasticity of demand, increase in elasticity here is what is a normal good. So an increase in income will definitely increase the demand for it, not the proportionate. It's not A. An increase in the price of electricity will increase total revenue for electricity suppliers. PED means an increase in here because the demand for the PED is inelastic, which is a negative. For elasticity, it doesn't matter if it is negative or positive. So here we are having an inelastic almost perfectly, but it is not perfect. So an inelastic demand here means an increase in price for electricity will increase the total revenue for electricity, because price total revenue is price multiplied by quantity demanded. So if the demand because it's an inelastic demand, which simply means irrespective of the price, the quantity demanded would not change. That is what it means. So an increase in price for electricity will definitely increase the quantity demanded, will definitely increase the revenue for electricity, because the total revenue is price multiplied by quantity. So if price increases, the amount made in terms of revenue would increase, because the quantity demanded would not reduce. Do you get it? So the answer is B. Then we see C. They said electricity is an inferior good. No, it's not an inferior good, because it's a positive YED here. And if it is positive, it is a normal good. Electricity has price elastic demand. It doesn't have price elastic demand. It has price inelastic demand. So the answer is B. Is it clear? Yeah. And what you are supposed to write, I explained already. You define PED, you define YED, and you state the reason why it is PED. Here, the total revenue, because the price elasticity of demand here is inelastic, irrespective of what the price is, the quantity demand will not change, and that would increase the total revenue. Is it clear? So go to question 4. In the UK, sales of hybrid electric vehicles increased from 1,100 in 2013 to 27,000 in 2016. The most likely effect on workers employed in hybrid electric vehicle production is that employment will fall. Employment will never fall, because here the hybrid electric vehicle industry has witnessed an increase in demand for its goods, for its cars. So and remember, the demand for goods is a derived demand. So which means, the demand for labor is a derived demand. So if the demand for hybrid electric vehicles is increasing, the demand for workers in the industry would increase. So that will bring about increasing employment, not fall in employment. If there's a fall in the demand for hybrid electric cars, that could bring about a fall in employment. So it is not A. Unemployment will rise. Unemployment is not going to rise, because unemployment falling will bring about unemployment rising. So A and B are almost the same. So it is not A and B. Do you get the point here? C, the wage rate will fall. The demand for labor is a derived demand. Because the demand for hybrid electric vehicles is increasing, the demand for labor would increase. And when the demand for labor increases, it is expected that the wage rate increases. So wage rate is not expected to fall. It is not C. So the answer is D. Then you define what I said. First, you talk about demand for labor, which is a derived demand. So an increase in the demand for hybrid electric vehicles will bring about an increase in demand for labor. And demand for labor is a derived demand. So an increase in demand for labor will bring about an increase in the wage rate. Clear? So the answer is what? The answer is D. Clear? Question 5. Question 5 now, yes. The table shows the estimated annual saving that the household can make by switching to the cheapest gas and electricity supply in 2 Australian states in October 2017. Some consumers are unlikely to change their gas and electricity suppliers despite this estimated annual saving. First, what is saving? Saving is the amount of money we did not spend
and save for the future.
I'll be right back.
Manager director.
We'll go to question 5. The table shows the estimated annual saving that, we read it already. So first, what is saving? Saving is the amount of money that you did not spend. So you did not consume, that means you didn't spend it. That is why we call it saving. Now, it said some consumers are unlikely to change their gas and electricity suppliers despite these estimated annual savings. So here, based on the data, they will be able to save more if they switch their electric suppliers. But here, now the question says, some consumers do not want to change. And if you are not changing, that's an irrational behavior. Yeah. So the first point is that
feeling unvalued?
No. Before we go into the options, I just want to quickly say something here. The attitude here is an irrational attitude, because consumers are supposed or are expected to maximize their consumption. Yeah. So that means for everything they purchase, they have to derive satisfaction from it. Yeah. But here in this case, they are not deriving satisfaction. If satisfaction comes from less affordable price and better service, but they are not switching. So for them not to switch, it is an irrational behavior. So let's see why the irrational behavior here. One, this behavior can be explained by consumers, one, A, being good at computation. If they are good at computation, they will understand that the figure is reduced, so they are supposed to switch. B, experiencing immobility of labor. Yes, immobility of labor occurs if workers are unable to switch from one occupation to another, or they are unable to move from one location to another. That's immobility of labor. So there's there's geographical immobility of labor. Now I'm saying things further than this. There's geographical immobility of labor, and there's occupational immobility of labor. We call it geographical immobility of labor if workers are unable to switch or move from one location to another, maybe because of family ties.
Yes.
And there's occupational immobility of labor if workers are unable to switch from one job to another because they lack the skills or know-how to switch job. That is immobility. So it doesn't have anything to do with rationality here. So it's not B. C, feeling undervalued by their current supplier. If they are feeling undervalued by their current supplier, they would have switched immediately because customers are king. So if they don't feel valued, they would move. So it's not C. Behaving habitually. So this is an habitual behavior. And this such habitual behavior is an irrationality. You get? So here I was. Some customers may not want to switch as they have developed a habitual behavior, as they may want to remain loyal to their gas or electric supplier. So it becomes loyalty. So they don't think about satisfaction or the amount of money they could save. They are emotionally attached. So they don't care about the rest of the things. So that's an irrational behavior. So the answer is D. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Question 6. Workers employed by a furniture manufacturer perform all tasks in the production of bookcases from start to finish. If the owners decide to apply the division of labor in the production process, this may lead to an increase in what? Division of labor first. What is division of labor? Division of labor is the breaking down of production process into different stages, and each stage is performed by different people. That is division of labor. So division of labor would lead to specialization. And what is specialization? The concentration of an individual or firm in one aspect of production. So with specialization or division of labor, it simply means I will continue to do certain aspects, which I get better in it, then becomes my specialty. So I will continue to do what I know how to do best. Because I continue to do what I know how to do best, it would save me time and it will increase my output. So division of labor will bring about
An increase in productivity.
an increase in output per worker. So the answer is A. Do we get it, please?
Yes, please. Question
There.
7.
Oh yeah, question 7. I think I explained it further
Yeah, you
anyway.
explained.
Yeah. Question 7. One of the roles of the state in a mixed economy is to. So first, what is a mixed economy? A mixed economy combines both the planned and the market system, which means resource allocation is done by both the public sector and the private sector. That makes it a mixed economy. So now, the roles, subsidize goods with external costs. No, goods that with external costs, the government would not subsidize. Government would rather tax it. Because external costs are costs to the third party who are not part of the decision making. So external costs is detrimental. It's damaging. It's damaged the society. Why would government want to subsidize for that? Government would want to discourage, not to encourage it, because subsidies encourage production and consumption. Tax discourages consumption and production. So it's not A at all. B, provide public goods. Yes, the planned system, the public sector will provide public goods. It's B. So let's see. Impose taxation on goods with external benefits. That's the opposite here. External benefits are benefits to the third party who do not take part in the decision making. So government would want to encourage external consumption of government would want to encourage consumption of external goods, goods that will bring about external benefits. So it's subsidy, not taxation. So it's not C. Allocate resources using the price mechanism. No. The state does not allocate resources with price mechanism. The price mechanism is demand for and the supply of, which is done by the market system. So the answer is B. Do you get it? Now, first you have to explain mixed economy, which you did. Why will the state provide public good? The state will provide public good because of the free rider problem. So public goods are goods that are non-excludable and non-rival. It is non-excludable because your consumption doesn't stop my consumption. It is non-rival because your consumption does not reduce my consumption. So these goods are goods that has to be provided by the public, by the state or the government. Because if it's not provided by the government, the private sector would not. is either they produce it or neglect it all.
Okay.
Do you understand? So that's about question 7. Any question about question 7? We go to question 8. Are you there?
Yes, sir. That was my
Okay, it's working now.
Yeah.
So question
8.
8. So where's the Zoom? Question 8, please.
If January 2015, South Korean government introduced a trade pollution permit scheme involved 525 firms and aimed to reduce carbon emissions by 22% between 2012 and 2020.
So 2012 to 2030, yes, thank you. It said the trade pollution permit scheme will what? 1, offer subsidies to firms who pollute. Pollution is an external cost, is a negative externality. Subsidy would never work on it. It's not A. Tax firms that pollute above their permitted level. No. Government would not even tax because there's no way. If you are polluting, if you are using more than a permitted level, government will not provide further. There's a limit to what you can buy. So as soon as that is done, you can't get from government anymore. You can only get from your competitors. So it's not big. Allow those that have spare permits to sell them to polluting firms. Yes. The answer is C. I'm going to explain further anyway. Allow those that pollute above the permitted level to sell permits. If you have pollute above the permitted, what else do you have available? Nothing. So the answer is C. So first, what is a tradable pollution permit? It's a scheme that allows you to be able to trade or to sell or buy pollution permits when you have used or you have excess in supply. And when you do that, you'll be able to make more revenue or profit. That's a tradable permit. Is it clear? Is it clear, please? We go to question 9. So we have the extract, which is on the screen already. So we just go to the question immediately. Are you there, please?
Yes, sir.
With reference to extract 1, explain why the price of butter increased between April 2016 and September 2017. Illustrate your answer with a supply and demand diagram. First, the price of butter, based on the case study that I read, the price of butter increased from 2,500 per ton in April 2016 to 4,500 in September 2017, based on the following reasons. 1, an increase in the cost of butter, that's 1. And 2, an increase in the popularity of baking using butter. So an increase in the cost of butter will bring about a rise in the price of butter. An increase in the popularity would also increase awareness about using butter. That would also bring about increase in demand. Do you get the point here? So,
Question 9.
no, we're not done yet. So both situations can be graphically represented as with a graph. So we have a graph that has to be drawn for that.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Okay. So based on the graph, there's going to be a leftward shift in the supply curve. Why? Because the cost of production is increasing. And as long as the cost of production increases, supply curve will shift leftward or upward from S to S1. Demand is increasing, so demand curve will shift rightward from D to D1. And the quantity supply would contract from QE to Q1 with a high equilibrium price from PE to P1. I think it's clear.
Yes, sir.
So go to question B. Okay, with reference to extracts 1, evaluate the likely effect of the increase in the price of butter on food manufacturers. Well, here I wrote, an increase in price of butter from 2,500 to 4,500 euros is likely to have a huge impact on food manufacturers. First, as this will increase the cost of production for food manufacturers. So an increase in the cost of production will bring about a reduction in the supply of butter. Yes or no? So here, as this will increase the cost of production for food manufacturers, a high cost of production will shift the supply curve leftward or upward. That's the first situation there. The high cost may be passed on to customers as a high price, which may in turn reduce the revenue for food manufacturers. So if, based on the fact that the cost is increasing, firms, food manufacturers have to increase their price. They pass it on. We call it cost push inflation. They pass it on to consumers. Consumers might stop buying, and that reduces the revenue made by the firms. We're talking about the impacts. We are evaluating the impact of a high cost or a high price of butter on food manufacturers. The third point, now, if this occurs, both producer surplus and consumer surplus will fall. Did you get the point there? Good. So reduction in output, because the supply curve is shifting leftward, right? So that will bring about reduction in output. Reduction in output will bring about unemployment in the economy. So unemployment as a result of firms, because they've reduced their output, they're not making revenue as they used to make. They have to find a way to reduce or cut their costs. One of the ways to cut their costs is to lay off workers, and that will increase unemployment. Do you understand the point there? So the demand may not reduce. Okay, now, however, the demand may not reduce if butter is priced inelastic. So if the price of butter is priced inelastic, and remember inelastic, it simply means there's no significant change in the quantity demanded as a result of a change in price. So if the price of butter is inelastic, irrespective of the price, it will still be consumed. Food manufacturers may seek alternatives to butter for reduction in their cost of production. So they might seek alternative like margarine. Do you understand the point there? Any question about that? So that ends that question. So we'll go to question 9C.
Where is it 4 marks, 8 marks?
Yeah, that's how the marks are.
Oh, okay.
So the points are there 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I see. 4, 5, 6, 7.
4, 5, 6, 7 points anyway. So go to question 9C.
It was just 4 marks.
Are you there?
Yes, sir. Reference to figure 1, explain the effect of increase in the price of butter on the
Sorry,
demand
I think I'm missing it here. Hold on, please.
for immigration.
9C. Okay, we're going to 9C. Okay, with reference to figure 1, explain the effect of the increase in the price of butter on the demand for margarine. So let's quickly go to figure 1. We have the figure 1 here. Figure 1, okay. Where's our figure 1? Okay, yeah, we have the figure 1 here, which the table is already in front of us here. We have the demand for butter and the demand for margarine. So the question says, read the question for me again, please.
With reference to figure 1, explain the effect of the increase of price of butter on the demand of the margarine in the UK. Okay,
thank you. So butter and margarine, based on what we see here, butter and margarine are considered to be substitutes. So what are substitutes? Goods that have a positive XED. And what is XED? We're talking about cost elasticity of demand. So what is cost elasticity of demand? The degree of responsiveness between the quantity demanded of product A, like butter, as a result of a change in price of product B, like margarine. That is elasticity. So based on this case study, we have the price elasticity of demand for butter is -0.38, and which is positive. Both of them are the elasticity of demand and margarine is having a positive XED. That makes it a substitute. So an increase in the price of butter might bring about a rise in the fall, a rise in the quantity demanded for margarine.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes. So in positive XED.
So yeah, with margarine or butter can be used to make cake, toast, biscuits, or pastries. So therefore, an increase in the price of butter in relative to margarine. So it has to be an increase in the price of butter in relative to margarine. Because if the price of butter is increasing at the same time, the price of margarine is increasing. So that might not be switched. They might not be switched. But an increase in the price of butter in relative to the price of margarine will increase the quantity demanded for margarine. That is the point there. So the XED for margarine is positive 0.08, which is stated. So this means it is a substitute for butter. However, the data shows that there are not strong substitutes, as butter has a high inelastic XED compared to margarine. The inelasticity of butter is -0. It's inelastic. So it means an increase in price of butter might still not reduce the quantity demanded for butter, because butter has an inelastic XPED. Is it clear? Is it clear, please?
Yes,
sir.
So go to question 9D. Are you there?
Yes.
So with reference to the extracts too, to what extent is it likely that a buffer stock will reduce price fluctuation of butter? First, what is the buffer stock? Buffer stock is a scheme that allows government to set maximum or minimum price to control the supply of stock in the economy. So yeah, buffer stock scheme allows government to set maximum or minimum price. We call it ceiling price or what would you call it? Ceiling price or
Isn't it maximum minimum?
yeah, we call it ceiling price. And there's other name for minimum price. But the maximum price is ceiling price. Are you with me, please? So we call the maximum price a ceiling price, but I forgot the other name for minimum price anyway. But if I remember, I will say it. So the minimum price is always below the equilibrium price anyway. So when the price goes above the maximum price, are you with me, please? Sorry. So when the price goes above the maximum price, the government will sell to reduce the price so that consumer will not be paying a high price. So the point about maximum price is this: if the price is set above maximum price, this is when suppliers want to sell more. Yes or no? But government will not allow that to happen, because if it happens, consumers have to pay more. So government will sell what it has in stock in its buffer whenever the price is above maximum price, so that consumer will not be paying a high price. That is the reason for setting a maximum price. Then, when the price goes below the minimum price, there will be excess in the market.
Excess supply.
Excess demand. There will be excess. So here, excess would reduce the quantity demanded. So government would buy to keep those ones. Do you get the point here?
Yes,
so they will save it to when the price will rise again.
They sell it.
So when the price goes below minimum price, government buys to reduce overproduction or wastage, as this allows producers to gain more income.
Never do that. Let government buy to.
Yeah, government buys. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So government will buy to reduce wastage or to increase income of producers. With buffer stock scheme, the government will be able to stabilize price. The reason for buffer stock is for price stability. So selling above the maximum price means government have to intervene by supplying more into the market, so that the shortage would reduce. If it's below the minimum price, government would have to buy so that the wastage would reduce, the excess. So it's maximum is shortage, minimum is excess. So government would both excess and shortage has to be corrected or stabilized by government. That's why government will set the maximum price or the minimum price. Is it clear? So that ends paper. So yeah, I wrote
the graph.
The graph. Let me just explain the graph anyway. With the graph, a high price of butter will see the EU release stocks from its buffer stock. I explained that already. So this is the graph for it. Maximum price is this, the ceiling price.
And this is the
below it, I forgot the name though, but that's the minimum and this is the maximum price. So that ends paper 1 of May, June 2019.